I'm going to take your mind back just 3 weeks when we experienced 3 storms in just 3 days. God, how can we forget it? We spoke to Stephen Sangster, the owner of an ancient Kent woodland, about our connection to the fallen trees.
Probably a lot of your listeners don't realise actually how resilient our trees are and what sort of mechanisms they deploy to protect themselves from storms. It's really quite interesting. As they're growing, they will learn the prevalent wind direction, which for us in Kent is southwesterly, and they will grow accordingly. So they'll anchor their roots in to make sure they're protected from that prevalent wind. They will grow so their weight leans into the wind. And you've got some species like oak that, as they grow, they will lower their branches, give themselves that stability, and that's why they're so successful, oaks, in surviving. And even trees will work together as a forest to protect themselves against storms. So you'll often find at the forest edge, you've got the smallest, fattest trees, and they sort of become taller and thinner as you go into the middle of the forest to create this sort of aerodynamic effect to protect the whole woodland, which is quite amazing. So, yeah, overall, we thought it could be a lot worse. But I think this storm has shown that you sometimes get these ancient or more veteran trees that come down. And people can get quite upset because, a lot of these trees have been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And we certainly had one example here in Alpington, where I live, in the local park, where a huge oak went over on Friday. And the whole community came out to see it the following day. It was almost like the wake for this oak tree, because in some respects it was really sad. It had lots of little buds on it, ready to spring into life, as it has for the last sort of 300 years, but no more. It just lies there. And it got the whole community out and talking, and we're thinking, it'd be a real shame to not make more of this tree. Unfortunately, it has fallen over 2 paths and a drainage ditch, so I don't think it can be left for nature. But we've got a great local councillor, Chris Pearce, who has already been in touch with the council to say, look, could we do something with this particular oak tree so it lives on? And there's a local charity's been in touch, London Reclaimed. They take sort of windswept trees, some of these big, beautiful trees that unfortunately come over in parks, and turn them into furniture.
Wow.
They've got a subsidiary called Goldfinch Furniture, I think it's called. And they kind of mentor and support young people who can't find jobs, and help them turn some of these specimens into furniture and sell them. And the profits from that then go into helping their careers and starting their own businesses. So I thought it would be lovely if we could turn this tree into some beautiful local furniture, dining room tables, or even a kitchen, so it can live on.
Well, fast forward 3 weeks and he's here. Stephen Sangster is back in the studio this time with some great news to deliver. What is the update, Steve?
The tree has been saved. Yeah, it's not going to go to firewood. We've got that charity I mentioned involved. The council have agreed to it. I mean, to get the council to agree to anything in a week or two is amazing. So the little campaign that we did with your help, it's obviously saved it for the community, and everyone's absolutely delighted about it.
So where is the tree right now?
We're still lying in the park where it fell during Storm Eunice, which I think was about 3 weeks ago, wasn't it? And there it will lay until Mike can come in with his portable mill and turn it into some beautiful furniture, hopefully.
Well, speaking of Mike, he's here on the line. Mike Biddulph, founder of Goldfinch Furniture, who was mentioned in the interview a few weeks ago. He makes custom-made ethical quality furniture. He's also one of the enterprises run by London Reclaimed, a Southwark-based charity that helps 16 to 25-year-olds step up into employment as well. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. It's lovely being here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you with us. Tell us the first step of when you approached the tree, how you transform it into furniture.
It's a long old process, actually. So what we do first of all is we met on site to have a look at the tree, and it was a beautiful old example of a real kind of a beautiful oak tree. And the first step is basically assessing why it came down. So often trees come down because they are, riddled with rot or decay or kind of stress fractures or fungus or anything like that. But I think this is actually in really good nick, which makes it sad that it came down. But it's great that we can do something with it, because it actually means that the timber is really good quality and will be transformed into beautiful furniture-grade timber. And it's a long old process. So we begin. It gets it's called milled, which basically means sliced lengthways. If you can imagine the trees lying flat, and then it's almost just sliced through with a mill, so you're left with wide, long boards, and that's the first process.
Wow. And will you be there, Steve? Are you going to be getting your hands dirty and jumping in, helping everyone with the effort?
Not just me, but I think the whole community are coming. So I
mean,
haven't told
we're
Mike
going to
this
need
yet.
muscle.
Yeah, that's it. You need your extra pairs of hands. So you're going to be getting stuck in, Steve?
Well, I think we've got 2 primary schools coming to have a look, see what you're doing. But it's great because it educates people. I'm sure a lot of people look at a tree and think, how on earth would I turn that into a dining room table or even a kitchen? So I think by educating people, saying, look, there is life after death with these trees. Such a shame to go to chip wood or to burn it, and let's create something beautiful from it.
And the community have been absolutely heartbroken, haven't they, to have lost the tree in their local park? I mean, what's the response been like to the fact that actually there's going to be some stunning furniture now?
It was delight that it could be saved, and there were some people saying, well, just leave it for nature. Sadly, it was crossing a path, so it couldn't be left completely for nature. But the council have said a lot of the offcuts that can't be used will be put back into the woodland for that all-important deadwood that will help the ecosystem in there. So it sort of ticks every box. I think everyone just thinks it's a win-win. The council don't have to pay to remove an extremely large tree, and this thing is huge. On its side, it's about as tall as me. It's difficult to climb, although a lot of the kids are managing it. So they're going to be a bit upset when their climbing frame disappears.
And Mike, what will become of the furniture? Where will it end up?
We run Goldfinch Furniture as part of London Reclaimed. So we operate, it's like a trading arm of an employment charity. So we work with 16 to 25-year-olds, giving them their first job. And as part of that, we make furniture for residential and commercial premises all round, mainly London and the South East, but really all over the country. So it could end up as a dining table all the way up in Glasgow or a kitchen in Orpington.
And these 16 to 25-year-olds, do you help certain children, certain young adults who need a leg up into the industry, who need a leg up into employment?
Yes, exactly that. We set up London Reclaimed in 2011 with the acute knowledge that there weren't enough starter jobs for young people. Full stop. But then if you take young people who maybe have a criminal record, who maybe have a custodial sentence, who maybe have come from complex family situations and maybe have had to drop out of school through no fault of their own, or even who've made a few wrong choices but now want to go the right way, it's really impossible. So I was naive. I was 24 at the time, and I thought, do you know what? How hard's this going to be? If I'd have known what it would take to set this up, I probably wouldn't have tried. But it was just a little bit of stupidity and a lot of optimism. And it's been fantastic. We set up London Reclaimed, as I said, in 2011. Then we quickly started making furniture. So I was working as a youth worker, but I grew up with a dad that was a furniture maker. So it was the obvious choice. Furniture. It's really great start for a young person to learn. Obviously, a lot of hard skills, as in how to make something, but also all the soft skills. How do you communicate clearly in a team? How do you work through conflict resolution? How do you develop good communication skills? And then that went on a little bit further. We've started a cafe in a deli as well called Lumberjack, just to keep the timber theme. So we've got a cafe in a deli in Camberwell, and we've got the workshop in Bermondsey in Southwark. And the young people we work with are just fantastic. And they often start from a place of no, not just furniture knowledge, but no employment knowledge. I'll never forget one of our first young people. He'd been with us for 2 weeks, and he came in one day really hot and sweaty, just a few minutes late. And I won't say his name, obviously, but I said, "Look, what happened? And why are you so out of breath?" And this guy said, "Well, I was halfway to work and I realised I was going to be late, so I decided to ride." And I said, "How did you decide to ride halfway here?" He'd nicked a bike to get into work on time. So it was just, in his defence, he'd seen it on the road for a few days before, but it was just a fantastic little kind of acknowledgement of the start place where some of our young people start is so far away from the norms that we knew about work when we were 18. So it is a real pleasure to be able to engage with, mentor, train, and crucially employed. They're all paid, employ young people to allow themselves to step up and to create a better future for themselves.
And then leave with a trade ready to go, a way of making
money.
Ready to
go. Exactly. And that's the thing. How can you tell a young person who, who hasn't got many choices? The thing is, it's very easy for people in mainstream society to say you don't make wrong choices. But if you don't have many right choices that you can actually make, what choices are you going to make? It's almost like the field of view that you've got to make a good choice is shrunk. So it's not excusing what they do, but it's giving them there's a wider narrative. So it's all good and well saying, work harder, get a job. If no one's providing jobs, how are they ever going to get themselves out? There's the little saying, to get a job, you've had to have a job. Who's going to give you a job if you don't have the right framework or knowledge base to actually work? And that's where we come in. So not everyone who goes through our workshop becomes a furniture. Not everyone who leaves our cafe becomes a specialty coffee barista. That's not the point. The point is allowing someone to grasp their future and say, I now know what work looks like. Because they might come from a family where no one else works. So what's your benchmark to be able to say, this is employment, this is what it looks like, and this is why it's important for my wider society and my community? Often we'll find when we've successfully worked with a young person and they've turned their life around, all of their brothers, sisters, cousins get in touch because you can visibly see the difference. It is really great. And this tree, why I was so pleased to get involved on this little project was, I can see what this tree means to this community. And an alive tree is always better than a tree that's come down. But if a tree has come down, it's better to make furniture out of it. It's better to provide employment with it than to just chip it. Obviously, if you can leave some trees to go back to nature, that's great, because that's kind of habitat growth, that's insects, beetles, that's really important. But on a big tree of provenance, especially crossing a pathway, to let that be chipped would be such a waste.
And are you always reliant, Mike, on people like Stephen getting in touch, saying, we've got this problem tree, we've got a nightmare situation, can you come and help us out?
Yeah.
Oh no, have we lost him? Oh, we've lost Mike. He's just gone down into the ether. Let's try him once again. Are you there, Mike? Oh, we've lost Mike into the ether. We'll gather him back after the 3:00 news. But we have got Stephen, our ancient woodlander, in the studio with us.
He must have spotted a tree that's just gone down somewhere.
He's had to launch into action. But Steve, you were talking a few weeks ago, as we heard, about the connection to the trees that we have as people, and sometimes we don't even realise it. Do you think that comes out in the way that we then use it to craft and to make?
I think so, because, man has had connections to trees going back centuries. Trees give you the shade on a hot day, give you the warmth on a cold day, through firewood. And it's unsurprising that trees appear so much in culture and religion. And to then take a tree like this and then have a permanent reminder of it through furniture. And all trees are so different, like a fingerprint. a tree's grain can be so beautiful and unique. It's just lovely to have that piece in your home. And, you know, wood goes in and out of fashion. You know, things like mahogany, polished wood is no longer in the homes. But, you know, there's a lot of focus now around industrial style chic. So you're seeing a lot of wood coming in, very rough sawn sort of tables, which is great because someone like me is very bad at building things. You can make it very easily and not have to finish it properly. So yeah, we're just really delighted that we've got this outcome.
Well, hold that thought, Steve. We're going to be right back with our woodlander, our ancient woodland owner, Stephen Sangster, and, of course, Mike Biddulph, founder of Goldfinch Furniture, right after the 3 o'clock news. You're listening to me, Anna Louise. Oh, a bit of Stevie Wonder for your Sunday afternoon. You're listening to me, Anna Louise, and we're in the studio with Stephen Sangster, the owner of an ancient Kent woodland, and also Mark Biddulph, the founder of Goldfinch Furniture, not only creating custom-made ethical quality furniture, but they are one of the enterprises run by London Reclaimed, a Southwark-based charity that's helping 16 to 25-year-olds step up into employment. And Steve, you were just saying you're going to be documenting this journey. You're going to be here along the way, watching this tree that's fallen in the community park, and to see how it's been transformed and how it will be transformed into quality furniture, something that can be kept forever.
Yeah, I don't want to get in Mike's way, but I think documenting the journey will help. You know, I love doing a little video and taking it from, you know, the tree falling right through to the beautiful furniture being created, which is quite a long time frame, isn't it, Mike? You have to season the wood.
Tell us about that time frame, Mike, because I imagine, you start chopping straight away, you get on with it, but apparently this is going to be years in the making.
It's a couple of years. Apologies for the line earlier. Once you've milled the timber, so you've sliced it into planks, you've then got to slowly let the moisture leave the planks of timber slowly. So that's called seasoning or air drying. So you're stacking it up carefully. And that takes an inch a year of depth. So if you've cut the boards into 1-inch boards, that will take 1 year. If you've cut the boards into 2-inch boards, that's obviously going to take 2 years. And then once that's happened, you've got the moisture content down to about 18%, and then you pop it into the kiln to get the moisture down to about 10, which is perfect for indoor furniture. Otherwise, if you put the timber into someone's house too early, you whack the central heating on, lots of moisture is released, and then your furniture goes kind of wobbly and starts shaking, starts getting cracks in it.
Is that when you have to start bolstering things? You know, where you see people's furniture and they've propped it up. You know, they've got CD cases or magazines underneath one end. Yeah,
and bits of newspaper. Exactly that. Just needs a bit more time. So it is a slow process, but there's beauty in that, you know, and there's a lot of this that mirrors back with the work that we do in our community with the young people. We're not slicing them up into pieces, though occasionally I want to. It's nothing like that, but it's just slowly stuff begins to change. And slowly you've got, an untapped raw material that over time becomes wonderful. The intrinsic value of that oak tree is already there, but I can't use it at the moment. And there's something beautiful about that refining process whereby the timber goes through and slowly, with a lot of time, with a lot of effort, it begins to, its value begins to shine. And, I know that's quite, flowery language to be using about our young people, but the value is there from day one when they're nicking bikes to get in on time. But when they leave us, they know their value, and there's been enough time for all of that, all of their wonderful characteristics to shine through.
And you see the process, Mike. I mean, you see them growing as people, you see them growing their skills and their confidence in the workplace, but you also see their passion grow for the wood that they're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's their passion growing, and then there's the other thing, it's the language that allows them to communicate how they're feeling. So I think a lot of what we do is the soft skills, so allowing young people to know how to communicate clearly, how to get their point across without feeling kind of undermined or disrespected, how to hear someone else's point of view. So that all that language which shows them, which means they can explain their passion for the woodwork, or at the cafe, the passion for, nice food, nice drink, all that stuff. It just takes time, and it's the language around that. A silly example is we had a young person, and when he joined us, he was a naturally good communicator, but couldn't quite get what he wanted to say across. And a funny example was he never said hello or goodbye on the phone. And it used to drive me mad because he'd be ringing up a client and wouldn't ever say goodbye. He'd just hang up. And, and I ask him now, he's gone on, he left us in 2014 and he's been in full-time employment ever since. And when I said, what was the thing that you found most helpful whilst you worked with us? And he worked on some fantastic projects. He said, understanding that you have to say goodbye on the phone before you hang up. No. And it's just, yeah, exactly that. He has the skills there, and he was a great communicator. He was a hard worker. He was, skillful guy. But it's the soft skills down to knowing how to kind of phone etiquette, I mean, I know I'm saying that. The slight irony is my line cut out twice, and I obviously didn't say goodbye. But that was a technical issue.
Tell us, Mike, where does this magic happen? Because we hear the chopping up of logs, and we hear the woodworking aspect. We hear the fallen trees and a workshop. Yep. I'm imagining some sort of forest dwelling, but you are in inner London. So what does this look like?
We're about a mile away from London Bridge and Tower Bridge. We're just on the edge of Zone 1. We're just into Zone 2, just off Tower Bridge in North Bermondsey. We've got a large commercial premises there with a decent-sized yard. And for us, it's better to be closer to a lot of the commercial premises that we kit out. And it's very easy for customers to come to find us. And crucially, the young people that we want to work with live in kind of Peckham, Bermondsey, Camberwell, these regions where you've got such wealth and such pockets of deprivation literally rubbing shoulders with each other. And one of the things I enjoy most is linking up kind of subcultures, linking up different strands of society. If you take Peckham, where I've lived in Peckham now for 16 years, it's changed a lot. And But the thing is, a lot of the changes happen not at the expense of, but without the thought of the people that were living here already. And the issue there is you've got different strands of society that don't understand each other, don't trust each other, and don't see that there's mutual benefit to getting along. So, kind of we kind of staff our cafe with a lot of young people, professional baristas, and then young people who would never be seen dead in a specialty coffee kind of cafe or deli. They wouldn't go in there or anything, but nor would the people that come in to buy their, coffee, their flat whites, their cakes, their dry store goods, all that kind of stuff. They wouldn't be hanging out with a young person from an estate next to their house. So it's just great when you kind of demystify and realise, well, we're all people. We all kind of vaguely need the same things and want the same outcomes in life. And if we start talking, there's things that both sides of society have got that the others don't. And it really enriches the community.
Oh, I can imagine. It's incredible work that you're doing, Mike. And I could talk to you
so
all afternoon about what you do, because it's just so fascinating hearing all of the different strands and all of the different aspects to what you do. Before you go, Mike, tell us, when you've brought these young people together, you're going to be making all sorts of furniture out of the fallen tree in this Kent community. What becomes of the furniture afterwards? I hear that you've got lots of people. You've got lists forming of those locals that want to get their hands on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, are you talking about this? Are you talking about this
particular tree? Yeah, this tree.
Specific tree. So, immediately, the first thing we'll do is create a couple of bits of furniture for the local community. So, we'll create some benches to be put on the site where the tree was. So we're saying, look, we're not just taking this tree. What we're doing is we're putting some benches back. This tree will live on in the site. Then the rest of the furniture, what we do with a special tree in a location is we give the local community, first refusal on having furniture commissioned. If anyone wants furniture commissioned from Goldfinch Furniture, you've just got to email sales@goldfinchfurniture.co.uk or get in touch, phone us, find us on social media or our website, Goldfinch Furniture. And just give us a heads up that you're local to this very tree, and we will make sure that we would kind of put your request in before someone, let's say, in another part of the country.
Oh, and you've got the local schools, hoping that they can pinch a picnic table from you, I understand.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they can. As long as they don't get too close to the saws.
Mike, it has been so inspiring chatting to you this afternoon. For those listening who want to help and support this incredible work you are doing, how do they find you?
Goldfinchfurniture.co.uk or Goldfinch Furniture on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. And then our wider charity, londonreclaimed.co.uk. They just kind of reach out, find us online, and maybe either kind of contact us or even pop in for a cup of tea. The workshop's always open.
Oh, Mike, thank you. Congratulations on the work you're doing. Keep it up. It's absolutely inspiring to hear about this afternoon. And let's keep in touch.
Yeah. I'd love to come on and tell you more about our work, our young people. They're inspiring. Thank you.
Mike, thank you. That was Mike here on BBC Radio Kent, Mike Biddulph, and the founder of Goldfinch Furniture. We've still got our woodlander, Stephen Sangster, as I like to call him. Steve, we were just reminiscing during a bit of Stevie Wonder earlier on that throughout the years, our paths have crossed and missed during the show. I mean, you've been at outdoor broadcast that this show has been out and about across Kent. You've been there flying your drone around the castle, Lullingston Castle. And you've been out and about all sorts for us during the pandemic.
Yeah, I was saying to you, it feels a bit pedestrian, but being in the studio with you now.
It's so boring for you this afternoon, Steve.
Of course, lovely to meet you, but normally I'm in a forest during a storm, or I've been refereeing a chicken football match during the Euros last year. And then chasing ghosts around a haunted house at Lullingston.
For Halloween.
Yeah, so being in the studio now just feels a bit bizarre.
It does. It feels very formal. And I was saying it feels like we must have met before and yet we haven't. That is the power of this show and getting out and about for Radio Kent. But you have been talking to us about your nature cam. So before you go, give us an update of the things, the beautiful stories that you've been spying through your cam.
Yeah, so I was down in the woods yesterday, took the kids down there, had some friends over, and we got a few nature cams up. So it's really exciting when we go and retrieve them to find out what the animals have been up to during the week. And you might remember we spoke a couple of weeks ago about a bizarre situation where a badger and a rabbit appeared to be sharing the same set. Yes. They were going in and out together, which I thought was really bizarre. And then we picked up the camera to see what the latest was, and my heart sunk when I saw this badger appeared to be carrying out a rabbit in its mouth. I tweeted it put it on Twitter earlier actually, but it was only when I zoomed in actually it wasn't a rabbit at all. It looked like it was a badger cub. Of course, the cubs are born about February time. They don't come above ground till early May normally when the bluebells are out. I think sadly looking at this cub looked a bit lifeless. I think maybe it died in the set and the parent was taking it off. Apparently they go and bury their young.
Do they?
Some say, it's to stop predators knowing that they're in the area. I like to think maybe it's just a nice little ceremony that they do. So yeah, a little bit of sadness, but as I say to the kids, this is nature. This is the full cycle of nature. Just like the tree that had fallen, the animals do succumb to illness, and that's the cycle of life. And we're witnessing it, in front of our eyes.
Yeah, and you seem to capture all of these beautiful moments on your cameras around your woodland. Was that the purpose for you, Steve, of buying this ancient woodland, to own it yourself, to kind of unearth these stories that you wouldn't normally see just on your daily walk?
Absolutely that, yeah. I love the outdoors, and what opportunity do you get just to, switch off? all the things going on in the world at the moment, just to get away as a family to a place where there's no Wi-Fi, and you can really switch off and just be amongst nature, and it's very therapeutic, for us all. I'm not sure all my kids agree, actually, but we soon put them to, find activities for them. I mentioned
put them to work. But they get something in repayment. You were building them a tree house yesterday and extending it high up into the branches.
Yeah, we've created a little camp which has an old British Army a parachute over the camp.
Wow.
Amazing, this thing. I got it for 35 quid on eBay, and it's 6 by 6 meters, pure silk. Amazing. And around the parachute, I'm building almost like a Go Ape series of platforms for the kids, with rope bridges in between them. So I've done 2 so far, and this is the 3rd platform, which are getting progressively higher. This one's probably about 5 meters off the ground.
Wow.
My wife is looking very nervously at the height of this particular one, but you get a great vantage point up there. It's the highest point in the wood now, and you can
what
watch
a
the
lookout
sunset.
post.
Mm.
I mean, I enjoyed just climbing as far as I could up a tree in my garden, but let alone having platforms in the branches up in the sky overlooking an entire ancient woodland. Stephen, thank you. For those who have been listening to you, feeling inspired, who want to see these stories that you document, how can they find you?
Instagram's probably the best place, so it's Billet, BILLET.wood. And yeah, we document all our journeys and all the exciting things that happen in the wood. You wouldn't believe it, really, every week. So feel free to join.
We need to bring the show to the woods. There's no other option available, Steve. What do you reckon?
Radio Kent on the road.
That's it. We'll take the show on the road, and maybe it'll fix the feeling of being a bit more pedestrian today, Steve. Sat at a mic, very formal and official. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
You're listening to me, Anna Louise.
How was I to know